When we set up our NAT network, we did not turn on the DHCP available in VirtualBox. That's because we're going to set up DHCP on this server. What we want to do is configure it. One way to do that is to go up here and it'll say complete DHCP configuration. So we'll click that. We want to authorize it. We're going to use the following credentials the administrator we're logged in with, and then we commit. That authorizes the DHCP server. Now, we want to configure the DHCP server. So we go to Tools, DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. We'll want to set this up so that we're handing out the appropriate IP addresses on our network. And in this case, we don't have a down arrow. It is green. That's because we authorized it. I guess I authorized it in a different order. If this is still red, you go down here and you do authorized. I kind of did it in a different order than my directions, but that still works. All right. So we are going to, we can start, stop. Here we go. We're going to right click, and there's some information in the assignment about how to choose a private IP address. So I right-clicked on IP4, new scope. Scope means the addresses that we're going to deal with. I usually name the scope the same as the domain that the scope is under. What is going to be our starting and our finishing IP addresses? Well, we're only going to have 2 computers, so we don't need very many. So 10.10.1. What did I have in here? 50. And then 10.10.1.60. Now in our case, our subnet mask is going to be 255. We're going to use what's called a Class C subnet. There. So we will lease addresses from 50 to 60. 10 addresses should be plenty for a single Windows client. We'll go to next. We do not need to add any exclusions at this point. So for example, if you had a device that was right in the middle of the range you wanted to use for DHCP, you could exclude that address from DHCP. We don't have that. We're starting our network out from scratch. Over time, vendors and other items mess up your network and you may need exclusions. We don't. 8 days is your typical lease duration in a business network. If you're doing Wi-Fi at a coffee shop, it's not unusual to have it be 1 hour or 2 hours because they need to rotate IP addresses in and out of there very quickly. In our case, we have business networks that are very stable. So 8 days is perfectly fine. Next, we do need to configure our DHCP options because we have to set up everything for our Windows computer to know what to do. So our router is 10.0.1.1. That's our router firewall. That's the VirtualBox firewall. And look at here, it already picked up our DNS server. How about that? Because this is a DNS server and it's already running. Our server 1 needed no configuration for DNS. So we'll click next. Do we need a Win server? Only if you have old NetBIOS programs. I haven't set up a Win server in years and years and years. We'll next buy that one. Do we want to activate this scope now? You betcha. Next and finish. Now this DHCP is ready to service our Windows 11 computer. Well, our next stop is to start up our Windows 11 virtual machine. So let me go over to my VirtualBox. There's my Windows 11. I want to make sure that he is on the right or correct network. Yep, NAT network server. Server does not have a DHCP server on it. So I'm going to start this guy up and see if we're going to get an address from our server. At this point, our Windows 11 server isn't participating in the domain yet, but it should have gotten an IP address from the server. So if we log in and go to start, now sometimes this will show up that you have internet access, sometimes it won't. virtual machines can be a little bit different. You always want to check by using the command prompt to see if you've actually gotten an address and things are actually working. We'll use our friend Mr. ipconfig/all. And there it is. 10.0.1.50. We got the first address. We have the default gateway. We have a DHCP server. We have a DNS server. Let's see if the DNS server works. How do we test that? We ping a host address. There we are. Everything's working. Everybody's happy.